your retainer nail here, and then find the hole on the back side that will shoot straight out. It'll shoot straight out of the brake shoe here, and then just kind of push in on it. I hooked up my needle nose locking pliers just like this, and then just kept everything all together there with the spring. I just pushed that center piece into the spring, and it's kind of grabbing on the spring too, so it's not going to come off. Did I get it? Yeah, I got it. Okay. Yep, I got it. You can tell because it looks like that. You'll see the little tiny cutout spaces there where the cross is, and you'll see that the nail is in the spot that prevents it from popping back off and coming loose. So after you've put these two springs in here that I just touched, you'll line up the little, there's like a little cutout here that should fit pretty easily into the to the wheel cylinder, and you'll find the same thing on the other side, and then you'll push these two halves together you'll just kind of push that way, and you'll push everything in together. You'll see where these little circular cutouts here, where I'm pointing and touching with my finger here, and then everything should be lined up. Now, that little bracket has a little hook for the parking brake that has to hook in there. So you might have to move around and pinch with your fingers and push that way, the hook, to make sure it's in properly, and then you can push it in with your thumb better, and you'll see that the it overlaps there. The hook right there overlaps the back part of this brake shoe body. And then I'll be putting this piece in here. So the way that you'll know that you got this little metal bracket that goes from the left to the right is that the curved portion is facing at 12 o'clock, and that you'll see it's got a big cutout here, and the other side has a narrow cutout. So this big cutout here is the part that goes into, if you look all the way back in there, you'll see where the brake shoe is, and you'll see the back cutout here for the connecting linkage piece that connects that metal bracket piece that connects to the parking brake cable down here. So this piece here, this is going to go, those two are going to sandwich in between here into that bigger, wider cutout. And then the spring is going to go on this side. And you'll know that it's right because you'll see that it's kind of got a groove in it. Like it's like cut a little bit of a groove. Get that hooked on like that. And this piece here, the hook part points towards you. So hook that around the cam there. so it fits into the groove. And then grab your needle nose pliers. So you'll see where the back side here has this open space here, and that open space is going to hook into that hook right there. So if you don't get it on the cam first, you'll fight it the whole time trying to get it on. So you'll lift that up. You'll lift this piece up here. And you should be able to get it in there. All right. There you go. That's how it's supposed to look when it's installed. This is exactly how you want to have it all look when you're all done. Once everything is all back together, you want to make sure that everything looks exactly like I'm showing you here. I've triple checked my work. I've checked the pictures that I've taken. I've done everything 100%. So if you look in here, this is the driver's side, by the way. So if you look in here, you'll see the spring, and you'll see the yellow spring has a little tooth on it back there. And that's where the tooth is going to end up pointing. And there's going to be a narrow side of the spring, and you'll put the narrow side going that way. You'll see how it fits on there. It'll slide on real easy, and the narrow side will stop at the little cutouts in there. And I'm sorry I couldn't show you that, but it'll make sense. And you just take off the old one and look how it came off and put it back on that same way. Make sure you've got your springs in place. Just exactly how I'm showing here. So you'll want this right spring in properly. It goes in and twists, and then it'll be just perfectly aligned to hook around this little button here. Okay. And then the same thing for the one on the left here. It'll hook in here. It'll rotate a little bit, and then just be turned enough to where it'll all make sense once you're doing it. And then that will be turned the right way to be able to hook on there. And then if you look right here on the very, very top, this is a little odd looking shaped piece here. It has a cutout that it fits perfectly onto, and there should be the same amount of space here as on the other side. And that's how you can make sure you got it right. And you can just actually look at it and see that it's on right. So as you can see here, if you want to put a screwdriver in there and then see how much leftover space you have, like this. So from here to here, I've got about 2 millimeters difference, and so it's the same thing on the other side. And you can just look at it and know. And if you look at the old one, you'll know exactly, before you take it all off, you'll know exactly how it goes on. So it's supposed to look exactly like that. The shoes look just like that, resting against this backing plate, as you can see here, all the way around just like that. All the way around just like that. And then you'll make sure your little retainer springs are in the correct spots. There's like little hooks cut in there, and the nail, the retainer nail, and they interface with this little hex looking washer, retainer washer, and then the spring, and so it'll look exactly like that. You'll see the cutouts, and then you'll know that it's in the cut pieces that interface with that retainer nail. So you want the other side to look exactly the same way, and then you'll want this cam piece with the parking brake cable. You'll want it to be perfectly in the groove, coming from the top all the way to the bottom, and then just do this with your finger, and it's not going to come off. If you did it right, you got that spring in and you got everything right, it's not going to come off. Coming down here to the bottom, you'll see how this spring here hooks in here, not that little hole, the upper one, and then you'll come over here and you'll see how it hooks in this bigger hole here to the right. And then, so that spring will be on, and then you'll have your adjuster wheel on, of course, before you put this spring on. And then you'll have this little, it should be up a little bit like that, but it's okay. As soon as it pulls back on it, it'll be able to rotate the wheel to adjust the back brakes. I believe this happens in reverse. And then, so you'll have that in the cutout perfectly. You'll see how there's a bigger, there's like a bigger opening there, and then if you look at it, there's a smaller opening, so it fits into that little groove. So you just make sure that you look to the left and to the right of it and make sure that it's in the groove properly. And then you'll make sure you got your hook, and it hooks to this little bracket here that is for the adjuster for the star wheel, and the back side of the spring where I'm touching is where it hooks around that, and then this flat piece that's a part of this spring and part of the cable, the adjustment cable rather, that all hooks on, and the hook part sticks out facing towards you. Okay, and so then make sure you got that in properly, part of the star wheel, and then I can't really show that part, but I'll try to go underneath and see if I can help show you how that looks there. Let's see if I can get a good view for you. Let's try here. So you'll just look at it to make sure that it's in the cutout properly. There's like a little cutout, and the bottom of the brake shoe fits into the cutout on this side and then on the other side here. And this is really hard to show because this adjustment bracket is in the way here for the brake shoe adjustment. And that's exactly how it's supposed to look, you guys. Sorry for the shakiness again. But I thought I needed to show all of this because I hate doing brake drums, and I know you will too, but when you learn from me, I've done it. I've done so many of them that, I kind of know how to do it pretty good, and I kind of taught myself another little trick during this video to use the zip ties. So back in here, what I'm showing you is that you'll see how the part of the cam that connects to the parking brake cable down here, all the way down here, where I'm pointing back under here, you can't see, is where the parking brake cable actually is. This little cable here is for your adjustment of the brake shoes. When going in reverse, it's going to click some teeth until it stops, and then it just gets tight. Okay? Now you're ready to put the drum on. Okay? And there's this adjuster wheel that has the adjuster wheel here. By pushing with a screwdriver towards the car that way, rotating it that way, it's pulling the brake shoes inward. So if you see there's 3 threads showing, as you continue to push that way, it makes the shoes go in. If you take your flathead screwdriver and then you leverage against the hub flange here, you can go up so the adjustment going up like that, when you're pushing up on the wheel and it's turning, I guess it's turning, if you're looking at it this way, it's turning clockwise. So turning it clockwise pushes the shoes out like that. Pushing down closes the shoes like that, okay? And then, so what you'll do is you want to make sure that you get it to where you can put the drum on with a little bit of resistance, but not to where you're pushing it on really hard. I mean, you don't want to be hitting it with the hammer. You want it just enough for it to go on with a little bit of resistance, okay? So basically, what I remember being taught long time ago from a master mechanic is that basically you don't want to hammer it on. You want it to go on a little bit easily, but you don't want it to go on too loosely. Okay, so you just want it basically to go on to the point where you're pushing on it with some resistance, but you're not having to hit it with a rubber mallet or a hammer. You do not want to ever do that. If, you know, maybe one day I'll make a video about that, but if you do hammer this way, if you're trying to remove it and you're going to replace the brake shoes, hammer here. Don't hammer on the outside. Hammer here. So it'll come in and out like that. Okay, and so you basically just want to get it on to where it feels like there's a little bit of resistance pushing it on, but it's still kind of going on easily. And then you want some turning resistance like this. So I'm kind of turning it. I'm not forcing it. I'm not having to do He-Man on it. I'm going to say like maybe like you're turning a steering wheel and the power steering pump doesn't work very good. Kind of like that tight, but not too tight. So if it comes off kind of easily and goes on kind of easily, but with a little bit of resistance, and you can move it like this without having to stand up and push on it and He-Man it, that should be fine. And that'll be good just for just putting it on and getting it all back together. And you shouldn't have to make any more adjustments after that. And what you'll do is you'll make sure that you'll count the threads and try to get them as close as you can to the other side. If you don't, then you might have an issue with braking and it might feel weird as you're driving. So try to get them to match as best you can. And then that'll be a real good adjustment on them right off the bat for putting the new shoes on and the new drums, and you should not have any problems. You should not have to go and readjust. Now, there is an adjustment back here. There is a way to there's a rubber plug back here, and I can't get the camera in there, but there's a rubber plug back underneath here, and you can put a screwdriver in there and go through in here and push that wheel. Okay, so when you go up that way, when you're pushing it in, it's making it tighter. When you're pushing it down, it's making it the brake shoes close together, make it looser. Drums back on, and you have everything adjusted. Go and check your parking brake. You'll put the wheels on. You will torque the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds. You will check the e-brake to make sure that it's working properly. If not, you might need to do an adjustment to it. and then go drive your vehicle and do a couple of hard stops and slow stops. And don't be worried if you smell a little bit of brake, the smell of burning brakes, because that's very, very normal. And the smell should go away after you drive it, I don't know, 50 to 100 miles. And if it continues, then you've got an issue. Something hung up or something isn't right. You can also have what's called an infrared thermometer. And what those infrared thermometers do is they check the temperature wherever you touch the little laser beam. And so I'll show you what those look like. So you can get one of these OEM tools. So just sitting here at 72 degrees. So when you have the wheel on, you'll be shining right here. Somewhere right here on the wheel, because that's connected to the drum, and then you'll be able to get your reading. And as long as you're not hotter than 150 degrees, you're fine. You did a good job, and I'll see you on the next one.